I'm seeing Ms. Atkins, AB-154. Ms. Atkins, AB-154, welcome.
Thank you.
Now, this is a due pass recommendation measure. I want to underscore a couple of things. Given the nature of this subject overall, I know that we'll have a lot of folks in support of the measure. We'll have a lot of folks in opposition to the measure. So what I'd like to do is just establish a few ground rules across the board on this measure, and I'll be respectful of everyone's point of view and perspective, whether you're for it or whether you're against the measure. So I'm going to have two individuals or three, and you're going to have to divide your time up, so it's, equal for the opposition to voice your opinions on this measure, assumingly in support of the measure. All the individuals that are in support of the measure, please identify yourself and do the Me Too's. When the opposition comes up, I'd like to apply universally the same set of rules so there's fairness across the board. Two witnesses, main witnesses in opposition to the measure, or you can have a combination thereof of these three individuals the same way. I'm just trying to figure out time management. Those in opposition to the measure as well too, when the time comes up, and I will tell you when, those in opposition to the measure, just line up what is to my left, what would be to your right, the same line that we see right now against the wall, so then we can make sure we get your voice, get your name recorded, and your position on this measure. So with that, Ms. Atkins, welcome.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. AB 154 allows nurse practitioners, certified nurse midwives, and physician's assistants who have the proper training to perform aspiration abortions within the first trimester. This bill has undergone an extensive policy discussion in both the Senate Business Professions and Consumer Protection Committee and the Senate Health Committee. A few of you are members of those committees, and I know that you know the policy very well. So therefore, I want to focus, of course, as is appropriate at the Appropriations Committee, on the fiscal piece of this bill. As stated in the analysis, the implementation of this bill would not necessarily result in an increased overall number of abortions performed in this state. Women seeking a first-term abortion often travel to other areas that provide the service or even delay the procedure until the second trimester, which is a much more costly procedure. California already has a high percentage of Medi-Cal second trimester abortion procedures when compared to national rates. So by improving earlier access, the state may actually benefit from the cost savings of the more expensive procedure if women are able to get the service sooner. So with the passage of 154, California can continue to lead the nation in supporting access to comprehensive reproductive health services for women in their own communities by providers they know and trust. I would ask for your support. I have three key witnesses who understand the shortness of what we are asking them to do. Dr. Tracy Wheats, professor at UCSF and the director of the study, Brianna Pittman from Planned Parenthood, and Valerie Navarro of the ACLU.
All right, thank you. Doctor, welcome.
Thank you for allowing me to testify today. I'm an associate professor and health researcher at the University of California, San Francisco, and one of the principal investigators on the demonstration project HWPP number 171 that showed that nurse practitioners, certified nurse midwives, and physician's assistants can perform these procedures with the same safety and patient satisfaction outcomes as their physician colleagues. My colleagues and I became interested in the question of clinician provision of abortion care after we completed a study at San Francisco General Hospital about women who were presenting for late abortions. We discovered that many of the women who were seeking care at our hospital had sought abortion care outside the Bay Area but were unable to locate services. While nationally only 8% of abortions occur after the first trimester, in California, among women using state Medi-Cal, 13% of those abortions occur after that time. This health disparity causes additional costs to the state as well as increases the health risks for women, as abortions are safer the earlier in their pregnancy that they are performed. These women are also more likely to be seen for their regular health care by nurse practitioners or physician's assistants. Allowing these providers to offer early abortion services within their existing practices will help reduce health access disparities, which raise both the personal and the public cost of abortion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next witness.
Good afternoon, Brianna Pittman with Planned Parenthood. I'm proud to be a participant in the study as well as a co-sponsor of the bill. By expanding access to early first trimester abortion, AB-155 is going to provide better continuity of care by allowing women to see the providers that they are already relying on for the rest of their reproductive health care without requiring any delay or travel, and thereby reducing costs. We're strongly in support and urge your aye vote.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Ms. Navarro.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and members. Valerie Small-Navarro with the American Civil Liberties Union. We are also a co-sponsor of this measure and very proud of the author and the measure. Essentially, I'm going to make one point, and that is that this will reduce costs long term if women are integrated into our healthcare systems and trust the providers they're going to. For abortions, I think in the long run we'll see a reduction in costs to the state. We ask for an aye vote.
Thank you very much. Okay, now, this long line, I'm going to assume we're all in support of the measure. So Sergeants, we don't have a microphone at all, individual microphone. If not, just come on up and just register your name and your position.
Test.
Okay.
Chelsea Gelbart on behalf of NARAL Pro-Choice California, co-sponsor of the bill, and on behalf of our 175,000 members in California in strong support.
Thank you.
Myra Duran on behalf of California Latinas for Reproductive Justice, also co-sponsor of the bill and strong support, and ask for your aye vote.
Thank you very much.
Hello, I'm Sierra Harris. I'm the Assistant Director at Access Women's Health Justice. We're also a co-sponsor of the bill and strong support.
Thank you very much.
Erin Francis, representing Planned Parenthood of the Pacific Southwest, which covers San Diego, Riverside, and Imperial counties. We are in strong support of the bill.
Thank you.
Erica Root here in support, and we thank the author for her leadership.
Thank you.
Kathleen Kogan, I'm here in support of the bill.
Thank you.
Michelle Cabrera with SEIU California in support.
Thank you.
Ashley Morris, Oakland resident, in support.
Thank you.
I'm Carol Moon Goldberg, representing the League of Women Voters of California in support of AB 154. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sarah Dickey on behalf of the California Pan-Ethnic Health Network in support.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair and members, Monica Miller on behalf of the County of Santa Barbara in support. Thank you.
Thank you.
Shireen Dada with Women's Health Specialists in strong support.
Thank you.
Kathy Mossberg, California Family Health Council in support.
Thank you.
Rebecca Gonzalez, National Association of Social Workers, California chapter in support.
Thank you.
Laurel Bernstein, I'm a certified nurse-midwife on behalf of the California Nurse-Midwives Association in strong support.
Thank you.
Melanie Austin, co-chair of the Legislative Committee for the California Nurse-Midwives Association in strong support.
Thank you.
Alyssa Mouton, resident of Berkeley in support.
Thank you.
Zora Whitaker, member of volunteer for Planned Parenthood and also Women's Health in support.
Thank you.
Jonathan D'Souza, from Strong Families and Forward Together, resident of San Francisco in strong support.
Roxanne Gould with the American Nurses Association of California in strong support.
Thank you. Can you move just a slight bit over here so I can see? Yeah.
My name is Michael Brown, a college student, Sacramento resident, and I strongly support this
Thank
bill.
you.
Eduardo Martinez, California Medical Association in support.
Thank you.
Teresa Anderson, California Academy of Physician Assistants in support.
Thank you very much. Any other folks in support of the measure? In support of the measure? Seeing none at this moment, those in opposition to the measure? Those in opposition to the measure? And the main testifiers will come up. Okay. We'll have a couple folks. We'll have 3 in this case. And again, the same thing, all the individuals who will be in opposition to the measure, if they could be so kind of to line up against the wall to my left and to your right. And we'll make sure that the microphone gets to you. Okay, so why don't we start with, why don't you hit that button? There we go, okay.
Good afternoon. This is the packet that I provided for you. It's titled The $7 Billion Annual Cost of Preterm Birth in California. What does preterm birth have to do with abortion? Well, 130 research studies have found that abortion causes preterm birth. And I have included 3 of those studies here where in Europe, they have the records of the abortions. They also have the records of the first birth, so they can look at it. They've followed hundreds of thousands of women over 26 years or 12 years, and they found that If you had one abortion, your chance of having a preterm baby increases to 37%. And in the United States, preterm birth was only 6% in 1970. After abortion became legal, it increased 100% to 12. It's more than 12% now, which is twice as much. So if you've had even more than one abortion, say 2 or 3 abortions, there's even more of a chance. Well, why? What is it about abortion that causes preterm birth? If you look at the study that I provided for you, on the red right here, he tells you why. And he looked at 37 studies linking abortion to preterm birth. And the reason why is because of damage. It's in red right here. Damage to the cervix. The cervix is tightly closed, and when it is forced open, it tears. That causes an incompetent cervix and therefore results in preterm birth and miscarriages. Also, when they suction curettage, vacuum aspirate the endometrium, they have to do that to remove the placenta, because the placenta will, if it's left in the womb, it'll cause an infection. When they do that, they remove some of the basal layer, the endometrium. That damages causes a thing called Asherman syndrome, or thin lining, and that results in preterm birth as well as ectopic pregnancies. So what's the cost? $7 billion is actually a very, very small estimate. All I looked at was the hospital cost for the first year, but many of babies born around 28 weeks, and they found that there's a lot more preterm birth around 28 weeks, very early preemies for women who've had abortions. And the cost for a preemie that's 28 or 29 weeks it could be as much as $1 million lifetime cost per child. And there's a lot of preterm birth in California because we have 500,000 babies born every year in California. A huge percentage of those are preterm.
Okay.
So if you look on page 3, what are some of the health costs that the state of California for a woman on Medi-Cal would have to pay? So if you could all look at page 3 here. The lungs are the last thing to develop. A lot of these women
let me just interrupt you very quickly, because I want to make sure you all
If you give me one more minute, I just want to say that...
I'll give you the minute, but that's fine with me. I'll give you more minutes, but the only problem is you'll take away your minutes from your colleagues.
I understand that. Anyway, developmental delays, cerebral palsy, gastrointestinal difficulties, immune problems, problems with the heart, the blood system, and so on. These are all well-known facts.
All right.
So the cost, I figured out, using the CDC statistics, how much it would cost, came up with $7 billion. But I didn't include educational costs. Special needs costs for these children, educational, are very high in the billions, much more than $7 billion. And I did not include ongoing medical costs that would happen for many of these preterm babies, because many of them are cerebral palsy babies. That's a big... So if you look on the last page, this is page 5, at this graph, there's no cure for these diseases. The cost to California will go on for as long as these people are alive. So you're looking at not just cerebral palsy costs, which is $1 million lifetime cost per person, but you're looking at mental health costs that have to be paid, intellectual disabilities, epilepsy, vision impairment, autism, and so on. So the cost of $7 billion annually is really much less than the educational and ongoing medical costs that would be incurred.
Thank you. Well, you gave us a lot of information and data. We thank you for that. We'll pour over that. I'm going to ask our next witnesses, our 2 witnesses here, to be as succinct as possible. I think you did a thorough job in getting your points across fiscally per your arguments that you're trying to put forth. So I'm going to ask if you be succinct and be patient with all of us. Thank you.
Okay. Good afternoon. My name is Linda Coda, and I live in Orange County. I'm testifying today as a private citizen. I do not represent any organization, and I have taken time off work and paid my own expenses to be here. This is the first time I have ever spoken out on any legislation. I'm a government administrator by professional, and my credentials include over 25 years of local government experience in the areas of finance, cost and risk analysis, policy formulation, and litigation. AB-154 will increase emergency medical and transportation costs and the cost of ongoing emergency medical care statewide. So what happens when there's a complication during or after an abortion in a rural clinic? How does a woman get emergency medical care? The only study cited in AB 154 was done at one of the best medical schools under clinical conditions, and non-doctors had almost twice the rate of complications as doctors. What will the real rate of complications be in rural clinics? Remember, when these practitioners make a mistake, the results are bleeding, punctured uterines, infection, infertility, and possibly death. Who's going to bear these costs? Taxpayers will be on the hook for millions of dollars every year. Whether it's paid for by federal, state, or local funds, the money will actually come from private citizens, the taxpayers. The cost to have access to hometown abortion clinics is too high. These elective procedures done under AB 154 will cost taxpayers thousands of dollars in emergency medical care. I believe in a woman's right to choose, the right to choose the best medical care available to her. AB 154 deprives her of that right because it does not require disclosure that the person performing the abortion is not a doctor. She should know if someone with only 8 weeks of specialized training is performing a delicate, elective, and potentially dangerous procedure. I care because one of these women could be a friend or a relative or a neighbor. I want her to do what's in her own best interest and not to be fooled. When injured women and their family members realize that California legislators approved this bill, knowing of the higher rate of complications, the state will be the target of millions, if not billions of dollars in personal injury and wrongful death lawsuits. The daughter of one of the women killed by the abortionist Kermit Gosnell filed a federal civil rights lawsuit against the Philadelphia Department of Public Health and the Philadelphia Health Commissioner. Senators, you know you must use due care in evaluating all legislation. A 1971 California Supreme Court decision, Stanson v. Mott, states that public officials must use due care, i.e. reasonable diligence in authorizing the expenditure of public funds, and may be subject to personal liability for improper expenditures made in the absence of due care. Senators, I have nothing to gain from testifying before you. I speak from the rights and freedoms afforded me by our Constitution. In my professional life, I am a public servant and swore the same oath of office as you, to protect and defend the Constitution. As a private citizen, I have pledged allegiance to these United States, one nation, under God. All I have to gain is the assurance that I have done what I can to warn you of the dangers of AB 154 and tell you that it should not go forward without knowing the true fiscal impact. Senators, please fulfill your oath and ask for a complete fiscal impact report before moving this bill forward.
Thank you. I'm very apologetic because they've taken a lot of time. I'm going to give you like 60 seconds, you know.
I'm sorry.
Well, this is the most important vote that you perhaps will ever take in your political career, Senators. This is involving life and death. The only proponents that will gain from this bill is the abortion industry. While the taxpayers of California already spend over $42 million to pay for over 90,000 abortions. By increasing the number of abortions, we'll have the long-term costs of the emotional impact of depression, anxiety, panic attacks, thoughts of suicide, eating disorders, alcohol and drug abuse, and of course the symptoms that have already been described here. The proponents of this bill have even gone so far as to try to redefine the word surgical. Make no doubt about it, this is a surgical procedure. It's life-ending, life-changing, and as a woman myself who knows how much abortion hurts, I find it deeply insulting for the authors of this bill to try to redefine this procedure as non-surgical. One thing we can all agree upon is the need for health and safety of women. In the information that I've given you, I've I provided that there is no lack of access. We've called abortion clinics throughout the state, and you can get an abortion this afternoon, tomorrow, or next week. Access is not a problem.
Is this information right here?
Yes, it is. I'm moving very quickly.
Okay.
The third page is a list of inspections that are supposed to be done every 3 years, and yet going through the Department of Public Health, where these records are intended to be kept, it's been 10 years, 17 years, 22 years, 15 years, in districts, regions throughout the state. We're not doing an adequate job today with the existing abortion clinics and providers that we have, and so you can imagine as you put lesser trained providers in remote areas of the state, you have a responsibility to protect women, and that there will be additional inspections that must take place, and that will be an added significant cost to the taxpayers. As I'm about to close here, I want to draw your attention. You know, they'll use euphemistic terms, choice, reproductive rights, what have you. The Mother's March of Dimes have shown us, they use this visual, that this is the size of the feet of a preterm baby that Karen spoke about, the lifelong expense. And yet I want to show you another visual. A smaller paperclip is the exact size of the human lives that are killed every day through abortion. And so this is the most important vote that you will take here. You can't put a dollar value on human life. And so I'm asking you, in the few seconds I have remaining, to put the health and safety of women, the lives of children, and the taxpayers of California first, rather than the profit-driven motives by which these proponents come to you today. And the Democrats used to stand for the little guy. Used to be a voice for the voiceless, the disenfranchised, and the poor. And yet, I'd like to see a day where just because you have D by your name, you don't automatically vote for whatever the abortion industry puts forward.
We don't want to get partisan on this measure. I know it's a very important measure for all sides, all individuals, all genders. So I want to thank you for your testimony. Sergeants, why don't we start with the folks? I'm going to ask the folks in opposition to the measure, just like the folks who supported the measure. Again, there's a lot of passion on both sides of this. If you could, again, just like the supporters, just give me your name for the record and, again, state your opposition to the measure. So why don't we start?
Almira Emmert. I'm a medical doctor. I strongly oppose AB-154.
Thank you.
Camille Giglio, California Right to Life. We oppose this bill. It is very dangerous to women's health.
Thank you.
Mary Morrow with California Right to Life, in opposition.
Thank you.
Luke Morrow, in opposition.
Thank you.
Adele Azito, private citizen, in opposition.
Thank you.
Patricia Feldman, private citizen, registered nurse, and mother and grandmother who lost a grandchild to abortion. I am strongly, strongly opposed to this measure.
Thank you.
Carol Corcoran from Stockton, and I oppose this 154.
Debbie Weymouth from Stockton, and I strongly oppose this.
Thank you.
Donna Pineda from Sacramento, and I strongly oppose this bill.
Thank you.
My name is Renate Caravallo. I'm from Roseville, California. I want to stand for the unborn that can't speak before you. I want to be their voice, and I strongly oppose.
Thank you. Thank you.
My name's Joan Donahue. I'm from Placer County, and I oppose this bill, for I feel it lessens health care for women.
Thank you.
I'm Janelle Trevathan. I'm representing the Coalition for Women and Children. We oppose this bill at this committee because of the long-term fiscal impacts to the state of California and the taxpayers of California.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Paula Short. I'm from Roseville, and I strongly oppose this bill thoroughly.
Thank you.
I'm Ralph Merletti, a member of St. Rose Parish, South Sacramento, and I strongly oppose this bill.
Thank you.
Danielle Cullum with Capital Resource Institute, and we oppose this bill.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Carolyn Worth. I'm a critical care nurse of umpteen years, and I've always been in the business of saving lives, so I have a really hard time understanding my colleagues who want to end a life. And I also have a master's degree from the University of California in nursing.
Thank you very much.
I'm Reverend Olga Herman with JC Resource Center and a resident of Sacramento. I oppose this bill. Killing more future taxpayers, California taxpayers, is going to cost us a lot.
Thank you much.
Hello, I'm Tom Schatz. I'm a parishioner at the Cathedral of the Blessed Sacrament and strongly opposed to this bill.
Thank you.
Teresa Greenman with Catholics for the Common Good. We stand opposed.
Thank you.
Sarah Money, a private citizen, also thinking of those women who are not able to have children and those who are waiting to adopt, and I strongly oppose this bill.
Thank you.
Linda Warner with the California Catholic Conference, strongly opposed.
Thank you.
Patrick Lee, a priest of the Roman Catholic Diocese of Sacramento, and I'm strongly opposed to this advancement of the culture of death.
Thank you very much.
I'm Anna Takita from Sacramento, and I oppose this.
Thank you.
I'm Christina Marotti with my children, and we strongly oppose this. I'm a mother and a taxpayer.
Thank you.
Craig DeLuz with the Frederick Douglass Foundation of California in opposition.
Jane Sparks, mother and grandmother from Orangevale, strongly opposed.
Thank you.
Magna Carta. I'm Queen Elizabeth number 3. I'm Queen Elizabeth's granddaughter. I'm also a Mother's Prayer Ministries, and I am in opposition. Thing is, I have an issue going on right here. I would be executive branch officer, and no one's acknowledging who I am. At the same time, my children are being territoried in the Capitol, and I need to get some immediate assistance for them. But I will be executive branch officer and CEO of State Capitol. I'm also Elizabeth number 3.
Thank you.
Okay, and Mother's Prayer Ministries.
Thank you.
In opposition.
The last.
Al Romberg, Californians for Parental Rights, urging you not to continue toting to Planned Parenthood. Reject this bill. It's outrageous.
Thank you very much. Any other folks in opposition to the measure at this moment? Seeing none, Finance, do you have a
No file, Mr. Chair.
There's no file at this moment. We have the supporters as well as those who are in opposition to this measure. Questions or commentaries from the members? I think we do have a question or commentary from Senator Gaines.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to make a motion to send this bill to suspense. I'm very concerned about the cost of implementation of this law, but also the ongoing cost to the state of California after implementation.
Okay. We have a motion that has been made by Senator Gaines to send this measure, which is a due pass recommendation from the Senate Appropriations Committee, to the suspense file. We have a motion that's on the table. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
De Leon?
No.
De Leon, no. Walters? Gaines?
Yes.
Gaines, aye. Hill?
No.
Hill, no. Laura? Padilla? Steinberg?
So we have one in support of the motion to table this measure and send it to the suspense file. We have 2 in opposition. We will wait and keep the roll open, Senator Gaines, for the other individuals to come in so they may add their votes to this motion that's on the table right now. So with that, we've had questions and commentaries. We've had supporters as well as those who oppose the measure. I don't know if there's any other questions or commentaries from the members themselves at this moment. Do we have a motion? We got to hold on that right there. It's a good point. We got to hold on that because we have a motion still by Senator Gaines. I'm going to allow Senator Atkins to answer any of the questions that you believe have brought about some doubt or things that you'd like to rebut, since this is your close.
Thank you so much, Chairman. I would say that a number of the issues that were raised by the opposition during the discussion were vetted extensively in 4 hearings at the Assembly, 2 hearings at the Senate in terms of the policy issues, the medical issues, the complication rates and issues, and finally we're here today at the Appropriations Committee. I am prepared, as is my witness, to answer any of the concerns. There are changes in technology. I will be very brief, Mr. Chairman. I know that you have a long day, but it's really important for you to know that we bring this measure forward in full support of quality health care for women in California. We bring this measure forward with extensive study in terms of responses to the complication rate. We had doctors, we had nurse practitioners, nurse midwives, and physician's assistants. The complication rate for all groups, including doctors, was well below 4%. The double rate between non-physician practitioners, you have practitioners who were well under 2%, And if you look at the differential between the doctors who've performed the procedure for many years to practitioners who are part of a study, to get less than a 2% complication rate when the national average is actually 4%. Is pretty incredible in terms of best practices. I assure you, women do not have adequate access. If they did, they would not be traveling hours. In some cities, it is true, people can get in to receive procedures much sooner. Not true for many of our rural areas. More than half of the counties, 58% of the counties, do not have a provider. So it is an issue of access. It is an issue of health care and quality services for women. The costs that the opponents have talked about in terms of types of complications, it's not borne out by the statistics, by the data, by the information that we have gleaned in the study. And I would just say this: if any member of your committee, either now or as you vote later, need to call us back, we are happy to come back and answer any and all questions. We have done that again and again up to this point. We would not want to deny you or any members of your committee who may not have been on one of the other Senate committees that heard this and we extensively answered the questions. I would not deny them the opportunity to have those questions. We are at your disposal to come back. This is good policy. We have done it the right way in terms of the study, and we would ask for your support, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Atkins, and I thank you for your transparency and your willingness to reach out to any of the members on this committee who may have a question or two. So thank you for making yourself available. So before you leave, Ms. Atkins, let me just state for the record so we know what's on the table. Right now we have a motion that's been made by Senator Gaines to send this measure, AB-154, to the suspense file. It is 1 in the affirmative, 2 in opposition. Once we dispense with that vote upon the return of the other members to this committee, contingent obviously on the outcome of that vote that's before us right now by Senator Gaines, we will take up AB-154 for the affirmative or the opposition. So with that, thank you for making yourself available. Thank you for all the members of the audience who have participated in this very important, polemic, polarizing debate, but it's a very important debate for all of us, those who are in support and those in opposition. I just want to thank you very much for your comportment today. I know it's a very important issue. So with that, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Ms. Atkins. Thank you. Mr. Gaines, you'd like to make a comment?
I would, just in terms of the fiscal impact, because I'm looking at the Senate committee's own analysis, and it talks about one-time costs of up to $150,000, and that's coming from the special fund of Board of Registered Nursing Fund. And then there's another estimate of up to $150,000 from the contingent fund of the Medical Board of California. And then there's also an indeterminate impact on state healthcare programs in terms of cost to Medi-Cal. And so my question would be, it seems clear, at least in my mind, that this exceeds the threshold. And this is not a bill that we ought to be voting on, but it ought to be a bill that's going to the suspense file.
I thank you very much, Senator Gaines. Let me make a clarification. The rule is in the Senate Appropriations Committee. I won't speak for the Assembly Appropriations Committee. But when it comes to special funds outside of the general fund, it's upwards up to $150,000. What we have here is, through the fiscal analysis, is one-time costs up to $150,000 from the Board of Registered Nursing Fund, as well as one-time costs upwards up to $150,000 from the contingent fund of the Medical Board of California. So I'm not quite sure if you're aware of that, but it is important. I'm glad you brought this up, because this is an opportunity for those individuals who may not know what the standard policy has been for the Senate Appropriations Committee.
No, thank you.
I appreciate that.
Chairman, I appreciate that. But I would still argue that it would exceed the $250,000.
No, I understand.
If you look at both special funds plus the Medi-Cal.
Okay. Have yet to dispense with AB 154. That is Assemblywoman Atkins' bill. We have a motion that's been made by Senator Gaines to move the measure to the suspense file. Before we go to the motion, I just want to make sure that I'm accurate with that, Mr. Gaines. So AB-154, a motion that's on the table to send the measure to the suspense file. We have a vote count of 1 in support, 2 in opposition. The chair is asking for a no vote. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Walters? Laura?
No.
Laura, no. Padilla? Steinberg?
No.
Steinberg, no.
Measure fails to receive the necessary votes to send the measure to the suspense file. Can I entertain a measure to move the bill forward? We have a motion that's been made by Senator Jerry Hill on AB 154. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
De Leon?
Aye.
De Leon, aye. Walters? Gaines?
No.
Gaines, no. Hill?
Aye.
Hill, aye. Laura? Aye. Laura, aye. Padilla? Steinberg?
Aye.
Steinberg, aye.
Measure passes on a 4-1 vote.